Meeting to order at 6:51. We're late.
Yes. Aye. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to tell them why we're having a meeting?
Okay,
public-
so we're having a meeting before the meeting. So if you're here early, lucky you. Maybe intentionally you came to talk about the tax levy. But if it was unintentional, sit back and enjoy. It's going to be a great one. Here we go. Okay, so school funding components. We have our dollars that come in from federal, state, and local areas. Federal money comes in through many of our grants that Paige writes. Thank you, Paige. We did for many years have ESSER grants. Those are dried up now, but the paperwork behind them is not. Right, Paige? Yeah. State money comes from our EBF, or evidence-based funding. We don't get so much of that in our district because of having a very good set of farmland and EAV that's local. We do also get reimbursement from the state for transportation, special ed, driver's ed, free lunch and breakfast program, our early childhood program, and ag education. Our EBF dollars this year should be $889,000, just over. And local funding comes through the annual tax levy. That's why we're here tonight. As you can see, the great majority of the pie, local tax dollars are paying for about 85% of what we do here. Federal 6%, state 9%. Local funding, the tax levy is based on the equalized assessed valuation. It's called our EAV of the property that's within our 212 square miles. We have rich farmland, which provides us very steady and increasing EAV values. That's financial stability for the district right there. Sapphire Sky Wind Farm is operating, and so that was a big bump in our EAV that's in this current FY25 budget, which was written in the 23 levy. And I noted there that the Prosperity Wind Farm is currently under construction. We don't know exactly when that will be online. That will be the determining factor in when that next wind farm comes in as EAV. Wanted to give you a look at the last 10 years of EAV data. You can see, like we just talked about, 23 and 24. We've been very fortunate with our EAV there. Down at the bottom, you can see from last year, we increased by 8.37%. 5-year average is 8.78, and the 10-year average is 5.89. Tax levy proceeds, that goes into the 9 buckets that we have, or actually most of the 9 buckets, that goes into the Ed Fund, O&M, bond and interest, transportation, Social Security, IMRF, and working cash fund, tort fund, health, life, safety. There's also part of the levy that goes for special education and leasing, but those actually go in Fund 10 because that's where things are spent from. The bond and interest portion of the tax levy is actually levied by the county clerk. So we use that amount in our worksheet when we're doing the work to decide how to write the levy, but the county clerks are the ones that actually do that part of the levy. Let's see. In the last year, we've been able to bond for $6.2 million for the HLS projects that were on our 10-year survey and the track field and Memorial Plaza project, which are all under construction right now. And we were able to keep the tax rate very close to what it was before and still go out for those bonds because of the increase in EAV. If you look at the 10-year trend for the bond and interest tax rate, this just shows what we're paying off for our indebtedness. So you can see a little bit of variation there. 2023 was a little bit higher. That's when we went out for the bonds, and then it starts to drop again after that. This is looking at our operating tax rate, which is in the dark blue, your bond and interest, which is the light blue, and then you can see the numbers up on top of each column. That's the overall tax rate. So we're looking at the last couple of years, you'll note that we had some significant drops there. We're right around that $5.20 mark, maybe a penny below, maybe a penny above. So the tentative levy, same as what we said last month. If you go down to the bottom and across levy year 24, that's where we are right now. So the operating tax rate, 4.7075, bond and interest tax rate, just over 50 cents, and then the overall tax rate combines those two together, so about $5.21. Fund balances have to be part of our conversation tonight when we're talking about the levy. So we are still unaudited. Unfortunately, our auditing firm has not come in yet. We hope to see them very soon because that is past due to the state, but to no fault of our own, we have to wait until somebody's available to do that. But these are the unaudited fund balances that we've been operating under so far this fiscal year, which is about half over. We do have to do annually a fund balance reduction plan check. So that means we have to look at our important funds of 10, 20, and 40, look at the 3 years average of what we spend total in those 3 funds, and then we have to look at the the fund balance that's there. And if the fund balance is 2.5 times what you have to spend in an average year in those funds, then they're telling you that you're holding too much money in your pocketbook. So basically, you'd have to come up with a reduction plan. We are not in that situation. We're in a healthy situation, but not padding the checkbook too much, so we're okay there. And that's what we have so far. So no action right now, but during the meeting in old business, you'll be asked to approve the tax levy. Any questions?
If no questions, I need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting at 6:57.
So moved.
Derek? Jason? Yes. Okay.
That was the bonus part of the meeting.
Yeah. The real meeting will start in 2.5 minutes. Call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Yes. Up first, we have public comments and recognition of guests, and we have not received any requests for public comments. So our next item would be presentations. Up first is exemplary nights. I think we still have a few coming in the back. Okay. Up first, we will do our exemplary night staff members. For our exemplary night staff members, they have been recognized by their peers for their exemplary work in the district. As a Board of Education, we want to thank you for your efforts and positive impact on Blue Ridge. From Schneider Elementary, we have Melissa Ward. From the Intermediate Junior High, we have Casey Sedberry. And from the high school, we have Jesse Price. That's cute. And we also have Phil Avella. Let's hope you can't see us in the picture. No one wants to be in the picture. Like no one wants to be in the picture. Lillian Inger. She's on the list. She's senior. Yeah. Okay, up next we have our Exemplary Night students. Tonight, we recognize the exemplary actions that brought these students to the attention of their teachers and principal. As a Board of Education, we appreciate your efforts and excellence, and we want to say thank you for a job well done. From the high school, we have Carmen Ellis. From the high school, we also have Lillian Inger. For 8th grade, we have Jillian Newberry. Seventh grade, Tabby Roberts. Sixth grade, Ella Yaden. Fifth grade, Josie Brooks. She's here. Fourth grade, Lorelei Luders. Sorry. Sorry. Third grade, Margaret Leonard. Second grade, Reagan Burris. First grade, Trenton Guest. And kindergarten, Bristol Ellis. Definitely moving now. And everyone's going to leave. Okay. Up next, we have communication. In your board packet is the IASB liaison talking points. And then we have committee reports,
No committee reports this month.
administrative reports. Hillary?
Okay, first one, I'll be short tonight. We had a K-9 search, both at the high school and at the junior high side of the intermediate and junior high school building. Right when we came back from Thanksgiving, we did have some, as they would call it, hits, but nothing was found that the dogs were searching for. So that's a good thing. We also have started working on summer plans. It's kind of cold outside, but we start working on summer plans even when it's cold. So those will be forthcoming in the next month or two. And I think that's it for my regular report. For the strategic plan, I just wanted to pick some of the things that stand out to me when I go through and do our 3-month update. One of the things is that the monthly grade level information that we have in the strategic plan, that is now what we're considering embedded. That's a word that we used a lot when we were doing our Cognia review. And it's just part of practice that we do right now, which is exactly where we wanted it to be. So that's one thing that I'm pleased about. Our ELA Lit Committee and our ELA alignment work that Paige might talk about a little bit more, that's something that's standing out to me. And the work that Paige has done with others about the dual credit and AP course development at the high school. And also, of course, the track and concession project that you're physically witnessing outside. Those are some of the big highlights that we would have for this 3-month update. And that's all I have, unless you have questions.
If not, we have principal reports. Mr. Payton?
All right. I just have a couple of quick announcements this month. Number one, first off, we had an awesome K1 Christmas concert a couple of weeks ago to kind of kick off December. Our students did some singing, did some speaking, and did a really nice job with that event. And I wanted to thank just all of our teachers again and Mrs. Weiler for putting together a wonderful evening, very creative, very fun. We have a couple of upcoming things, too, that I wanted to share just out there as well. So tomorrow we have our movie day, which is very exciting. So students will be going to the Princess Theater to celebrate some Christmas a little bit early. So we do that really instead of a gift exchange. It's a way for us to kind of get families out at a low cost. PIE, thankfully, there's Miss Josie. Hello, Josie. PIE has actually donated the entire funding for that, so all of our students that are going for free. So we're very thankful to have them. And I want to recognize Miss Josie Brooks. Miss Josie Brooks is one of our exemplary knights at the Mansfield building. I think 5th grade now? Come on up, Miss Josie.
It happened very quickly, so you were barely late, so we want to make sure you're recognized tonight.
Congratulations, Josie. The only other thing that I'll throw out there too is just that we do still have a few openings in pre-K. So if you know any 3 to 5-year-olds that are interested in enrolling, especially if they're 4 or 5 getting ready to enter kindergarten next year, we would love to have them come into the program so that they have some of those basic foundational skills to be ready as they enter kindergarten next year. And then one other plug I'll just throw out there too is that in every late January, early February, we work with the Bi-County Health Department and we offer dental cleanings and sealants and a variety of things for students in our community. So it's a great service to our families. It's completely free, and it provides an opportunity to also meet your dental exam state requirements that are out there. So just another great opportunity and connection that we have with our local health department. So any questions? Right now? Yeah, okay. I say we, but Mrs. Green and I did a program visit recently. We went to a District 87 school. So it looked like more of like a program that we would see typically around our area. Not quite like a Hamlet, like an alternative placement as far as a separate facility. Everything was housed within a school building that was there. It was a really good program from what we saw. Some of the things that we noticed where the teacher, it comes down to really making sure that individual, and that was the conversation that we had with the administrator that was there, having the right people in the program, educating the individuals that were there is really the key. Some of the takeaways, I think there was one teacher, about 2 to 3 aides in those sections, anywhere from 5 to 6 kids. One of the things that we noticed, there was a variety of flexibility once again. Some students stayed the entire day in that program. Some students left for specials or lunch. Some students left for academics as well. So it just kind of depended on what that student needed. One of the big things that stood out again is they had an additional room that they allowed students to regulate in. So it was connected to that space where they were learning as well. So if students were struggling in that moment, needed a separate space, there was a room about the same size as the classroom that they were in next door, so that they could kind of, move to a new space, regulate, and be able to hopefully then rejoin and be back at that learning at that learning level where they needed to be. So we also did another conversation with a district down in Southern Illinois. They utilize what's called a PASS program. After we had a conversation, we kind of realized it's more of like a tier 3, which is kind of the last step before we get to special ed. It's kind of something that they utilize when their tier 1 interventions, kind of what we do for every student, is not working. Tier 2 is not working. They had to have what they call a PASS program, and what that is just they have a general ed teacher that kind of oversees students that just are struggling in the main classroom, and so they pull anywhere from 1 to 2 kids that will go into their program for 4 weeks at a time and really develop some strong SEL skills in their students. After those 4 weeks of just being solely in that classroom, they then are kind of reintroduced back into those grade level classrooms, because now that they have hopefully a better skill set, they've developed a really strong connection with another staff member in the building. They've seen a lot of success from that. So that's a cool idea, and it's something that we've talked about. Mrs. Green and I will continue to explore a little bit more, but it doesn't always address the situation of when students do get to the program, kind of how we work with some of our students with those highest needs. So lots of good experiences. We're scheduling another visit to Clinton Elementary School. They also have a ED program, just to kind of see what their program looks like as well, and trying to just get as much information as we can so that we have a variety of perspectives and ideas to potentially develop something if we see the need to. Okay.
Do you know if we've ever explored the idea of bridging the high school and the elementary school to create that extra space?
I have not at this moment, no. That would, it's, I think there's always been some conversation at some point, about having something potentially between these two spaces.
Yeah.
What that is, I don't know, whether those would be classrooms or
Yeah.
auditoriums or
Maybe
a
long-
variety of things that could be included. But
Yeah.
no, I think there is some space there. It would just be a matter of what we feel is the best
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
Derek, we just revamped the flower bed. I don't think it's an option.
It's an option.
Good evening. So just wanted to make everybody on the boards aware that starting this month with our behavior data, will be including the number of out-of-school suspensions between each board meeting. So as you saw, hopefully maybe you saw in the notes or in the report, my report, that we had 3 this past month. Moving on, our Thanksgiving celebration that we had was just a little bit after the last board meeting. It was packed. It was amazing. We had over 160 people in our building in a very short span of time of about 2 hours. And so it was just, it just creates a great atmosphere in the building, and I'm so happy that we get to be part of that. And then this Friday, we'll be having a sing-along to kind of wrap up our calendar year, and we'll be inviting families again, too. It's typically pretty well attended, and so there'll be students singing. They've been practicing with Mrs. Weiler for a while, and then there'll be a little bit of a 12 Days of Christmas comedic sketch that will be done with between students and staff. And then wrapping up, we've got our some update on some activities, our sports activities. Our boys basketball season is pretty well underway, and that'll continue after we return from break. The postseason stuff starts at the end of January, early February. Our girls volleyball tryouts were at the start of the month, but they won't have their first match until the 13th when we return. And lastly, we just had our winter stage production, included our 4th through 8th grader students, the CSI Christmas Scene Investigators. Thanks for all of those that were able to come out and see that. Good reports. So, as the board approved the padding that went in front of the bleachers, part of that was obviously a safety feature, but it also helps reduce the reverberation in our gymatorium. And so a lot of the reports that I heard, that it was much easier to hear some of the students speaking, even those that weren't mic'd up. So thank you very much for approving that and providing that for our school. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, I'll be brief. So, yeah, this time of the year, as the other two guys referred to, Christmas time, lots of activities going on. Last week we had our band and choir concert, which the junior high also participated in. It was a really nice show. The bands do really well with the, especially the high school, the short amount of time that they have to prepare from when marching band season ends and the concert takes place. We had a decorating door contest, and teachers participated in decorating their doors in the classrooms, and that was a lot of fun for the kids and teachers. And then last week we had some dress-up days, which a lot of kids and staff participated in as well. Not as exciting for some students this time of year also as final exams, as we wrap up our semester and have some culminating assessment activities going on in classrooms. One of the things we modified this year is our expectation is that all students are attending finals, which wasn't always the case in the past, and we've kind of made some modifications there. We do have some exemptions for seniors who have really excellent attendance across the board, and also good grades and all of that. Yeah, and then I want to leave you with a highlight that I got here in the past week or so. We have lots of different subs that come and work in our buildings, and a lot of them work in other districts. And I was chatting with one the other day, and we were just kind of talking about some logistics of supervision that he had. And he just kind of mentioned that he finds that our students here at Blue Ridge High School are really pretty good. And he's in several other high schools in the area, and he said that he really enjoys coming here because ours really are top notch. So I took that as a good thing. I've always said, we've got pretty good kids. And so anyway, I felt like that was a really good thing. So I wanted you to hear that. Questions? Okay.
Yeah, Paige will come back to you. We're going to jump down to old business really quick. And this would be for the levy. So we're going to do the discussion for approval of the 2024 tax levy.
So the levy that was presented this month and at the hearing was the same as what was presented to you last month. So just want to make sure that you saw the EAV, the operating and bond and interest, and the overall tax levy rate, and then also that we had included the fund balances. So now it's for your approval.
Any questions? If not, I need a motion and second to approve the 2024 tax levy for Blue Ridge CUSD 18 as presented. Okay. I think we have Jonathan and Derek. Sorry, Sid.
Jason Nolan?
Yes.
Zig Enger?
Yes.
Shannon Johnson?
Yes.
Derek Hernandez?
Aye.
Chelsea Lefferts?
Yes.
Jonathan Nagel?
Yes.
Tracy Miller?
Yes. And then, real quick here, I have to sign this. Oops. There, I'm done. Here's what I need to sign. Here's the one, in case you don't have me. Real quick.
It's the same document. Right, but I'm saying these are all repeat. They're all the same as the first page. You just have to go to different counties.
So is it the same person saying?
Yes.
Thank you.
The state's got one of those different.
Okay, like Hillary referenced, the Literacy Committee has been meeting at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, after school. Some nights we're there till 5:45, 6 o'clock, just reviewing, I think, 8 to 10 curriculums we've taken a look at. And in January is kind of a big month. We're going to try to have it narrowed down to our top 2 to 3. Once we narrow that down, then we're going to talk to some people who are actually using it, doing some classroom visits, having some people come and talk to us, and then hopefully bring a proposal for adoption to you at the April board meeting would be great. And then that way we could start doing some summer planning for the end of the year or the beginning of the year as well. Very excited about our possible opportunities for coursework at the high school that we'll be bringing you in January. It's been a while since the high school's offered psychology and sociology, but we have a teacher who is able and willing to teach that for us next year. So we're going to bring those 2 courses back, and I'm currently looking for current curriculum for them to use as well. Next school year, we're going to ask you to approve in January to add 3 dual credit courses, Ag Business 135, and then 2 education courses, Education in a Diverse Society, and Teaching and Learning with Technology in the Classroom. Another exciting thing that we have discovered earlier this year, I talked about the science curriculum alignment work. We've been doing 6 through 12. And if you remember, last year we ordered a new science curriculum. And as we've looked at the content of that material, we've noticed that the majority of the material that's taught in Chem 2 is covered on the AP exam. And so we're looking at what it would take for some of our students this year who are on track to possibly take that AP exam. And then we will be proposing in January for you to change Chem 2 to AP Chemistry next school year. And then we will have Cullen Scurlock would be the one that would go to training this summer to teach that. And then on the horizon, always I'm looking to add more dual credit courses. And one of our exemplary knights, Phil Avella, he has expressed an interest in changing his advanced bio to AP biology for the 26-27 school year. So we're also looking at that as well. So I'm pretty excited about everything that we're bringing to our students. That's been one of my goals since I started this position, is to really enrich some of our high school courses. And then finally, I've also been planning for Curriculum Day on January 3rd. We have Gary Brooks, who's a veteran educator out of Kentucky, coming. You may have seen him online. He has a social media presence of over 500,000 followers. He has 20 years of experience in education. He's a nationally known public speaker. His focus is encouraging and helping teachers to improve their instructional strategies through promoting personal climate and culture in the buildings. And so we're excited about being able to bring someone of his caliber here, and we were able to use grant funds to make that happen. So our teachers are pretty excited to start their year coming back on such a positive note. And I think that's it. So do you have any questions?
Yeah, how awkward would it be if there was a guest on January 3rd?
Oh, actually, that was part of it. I have this right here. I'm not lying.
I do
so
follow
if
him. I would love to be
anyone
there.
from the board would like to come, it'll be January 3rd in the high school commons from 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. And so we would love to have you. We invited our math coaches from the ROE. We invited Tri-County, those that work with us to come. So yeah, we'd love for you to join us. I think it's going to be a great way to start the new year. So, questions? Yes.
One quick question. Where are we at with the state literary project? Have they got a deadline when they're going to be done, and when it's all
The
the way
literacy
finished?
plan,
Yeah.
it's kind of a work in progress. Monthly they add little components. I would say that we're kind of ahead of where the state's at right now. When they kind of released the plan, we had already started using the Reading League's rubrics to analyze our own curriculum. What we are waiting for is, they said that once this literacy plan comes to fruition and is finalized, there's supposed to be funds for us to train administrators and teachers to get some professional development on how to how to continue to make your program stronger. So I would say that we're kind of ahead of the game with that. There's a lot of schools I talk to around us. They're just kind of starting those beginning steps. So I feel like we're a little bit ahead. So, yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, awesome. I hope you come. Am I
Yeah,
lost?
I'm like, I don't go back to the office till January 6th. I'm like, oh, I'll be there.
You'll need a water.
Maybe that's just you. Okay, and then you have the other updates in your board packet. Up next, we have approval of consent items. Are there any questions on any of the consent items? If not, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items listed on attachment A as presented. Derek and Kenna. Yes. Up next, we have old business. We're on B, consideration of track exchange zone color.
Okay, so we had learned from Dalton from Byrne and Jones that the cost of colored exchange zones for the track would be $30,000 if we ordered by the end of this calendar year. Prices typically for that kind of product go up at the beginning of the year, and he didn't know what to expect. Francie did ask me to ask Dalton what would happen if we changed our mind. Would we be able to reverse that decision if we needed to? And so the date for that would be April 1st, not fooling, that we would have to make that change. So for us, that would mean the March board meeting. So if you would approve this tonight, you have 3 months to look at it and make a decision if you want to stay with that or if you want to back out of that. The reason why we might need to back out would be if something happens in the project that's going to cost more than what we anticipate, which with the size of project that we're doing, that could very likely happen. One example is the soil stabilization. They had, I believe it was $60,000 that was allocated for that if we needed it. We do need some. We don't need maybe as much as 60,000, but they are already doing some of that soil stabilization work out there. So, and you can see before you, I'm torn. My recommendation, you can't lose right now if you say yes, but I'm not sure we're going to land up keeping that decision if we say yes today.
I'm going to just be a no because I don't think it's necessary, and if I don't think it's necessary, I don't feel like I should kick it down the road if I might forget to bring it up.
I'm in the same boat. I just think $30,000 for color is a little bit much.
Me too.
Nods.
Okay, so we won't even call the motion.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, no. Okay, up next, we have the county facility sales tax resolution.
Okay, so last month we talked about this being offered at the McLean County ballot on April 1st. Unit 5 and District 87 have, they are moving forward in that direction. Unit 5 alone has more than 50% of the student enrollment in the county, so they could be putting this on the ballot all by themselves. But the McLean County superintendents through the ROE have been working together to be in support of one another with the attached resolution. So before we get to that, Francie will do a little bit of the intro, and then we'll ask Jason as the secretary for the board to read through a couple pages of very heavy legal language. If you should choose to approve this month, then that information goes back to the ROE, and then once they compile everything, they will be making a decision about whether that goes onto the ballot. Like I said, Unit 5 could do that by themselves. The next thing that I'll mention now before the reading, we are looking at the possibility of using a marketing firm, not for a yes or no vote campaign, but for an informational campaign. And I will say that the team that we're working with, they came with a set price for each district. Blue Ridge is one of the smaller districts in McLean County with only 63 students enrolled there. And they presented us with a cost for a Tier 1 marketing package of $5,000. I went back to them and asked for a reduced rate of $2,500 and they said they agreed with that. So that's something that we can also be talking about now, but that would be a vote for next month. You could maybe give me an idea, if that's good with you. I think that was very kind of them to consider. We don't have the pull with the money that we're bringing in to have our architect or have our bond council cover that fee, whereas some of the larger districts, they could get people to donate that money. We don't have that option because we won't be pulling in that much money. So that's something to talk about. So Francie, you would be reading kind of the very bottom of page 360 about considering the adoption of the resolution, and then Jason will take over on the top of page 362.
So this would be for us to consider the adoption of a resolution directing the regional superintendent of schools for McLean County to certify to the election authorities that the county have a question of imposing a retailer's occupation tax and a service occupation tax at a rate of 1%. It would provide revenue to be used exclusively for school facility purposes, school resource officers, and mental health professionals. This would be included at the consolidated election to be held on the first day of April 2025. I think, like I've said before, obviously this would only be voted on in Bellflower, and as a person who lives in Bellflower, it'd be very easy for me to vote yes, because you're not getting any money from our little corner of McLean County. It would all come out of Bloomington Normal, the largest portion of it for sales tax that happens there, similar to if you shop in Champaign currently, and this 1%, they've had it for many, many years. So it's a similar thing. It just really wouldn't impact. You can't come to Bellflower and buy very much, so this really wouldn't impact us.
Ready? This is a lot of numbers. Whereas Section 5-1006.7 of the County's Code of the State of Illinois, as amended, the County School Facility Occupation Tax Law, authorizes the imposition of a tax upon all persons engaged in the business of selling tangible personal property, other than personal property titled or registered with an agency of the government of the State of Illinois, at retail in the County of McLean, Illinois, the county, on the gross receipts of the sales made in the course of business, and a service occupation tax upon all persons engaged in the county in the business of making sales of service who, as an incident to making those sales of service, transfer tangible personal property within the county as an incident to the sale of service at a rate of 1% to provide revenue to be used exclusively for the school facility purposes, school resource officers, and mental health professionals. The county school facility occupation taxes, if a proposition for the county school facility occupation taxes, the proposition, is submitted to the electors of the county at a regular election and approved by a majority of the electors voting on the proposition, and whereas, for purposes of the county school facility occupation tax, school facility purposes means the acquisition, development, construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, improvement, financing, architectural plans, and installation of capital facilities, consisting of buildings, structures, and durable equipment, and the acquisition of improvement of real property and interest in real property required or expected to be required in the connection with the capital facilities, and the payment of bonds or other obligations hereto or hereafter issued, including bonds or other obligations hereto or hereafter issued to refund or to continue to refund bonds or other obligations issued for school facility purposes, provided that the taxes levied to pay such bonds are abated by the amount of the taxes imposed under the county school facility occupation tax law that are used to pay such bonds. And whereas the purposes of the county school facility occupation tax law, school facility purposes, also includes fire prevention, safety, energy conservation, disabled accessibility, school security, and specified repair purposes set forth under Section 17-2.11 of the School Code of the State of Illinois as amended. And whereas the county school facility occupation tax law provides that upon receipt of a resolution or resolutions of school district boards that represent more than 50% of the student enrollment within the county, the regional superintendent of schools for the county the regional superintendent, must certify the proposition to the proper election authority in accordance with the election code of the state of Illinois, as amended the election code. And whereas the Board of Education, the Board of Blue Ridge CUSD number 18, the district, deems it necessary, advisable, and in the best interest of the district that the regional superintendent certify the proposition to the executive director of the Board of Election Commissioners of the City of Bloomington, McLean County, Illinois, the executive director, and the county clerk of the county clerk, for submission to the electors of the county at the consolidated election to be held on the first day of April 2025, the election. Now therefore be it, and it is hereby resolved by the Board of Education of Blue Ridge, CUSD number 18, as follows. Section 1, incorporation of preambles. The board hereby finds that all of the recitals contained in the preambles to this resolution are full, true, and correct, and does incorporate them into this resolution by this reference. Section 2, direction to regional superintendent. The regional superintendent is hereby directed to certify the proposition to the executive director and the county clerk in the form set forth in the county school facility occupation tax law and in accordance with the election code for the submission to the electors of the county at the election. Section 3, severability. If any section, paragraph, clause, or provision of this resolution shall be held to be invalid or unenforceable for any reason, the invalidity or unenforceability of such section, paragraph, clause, or provision shall not affect any of the remaining provisions of this resolution. Section 4, repeal. All resolutions or parts thereof in conflict herewith be and the same are hereby repealed, and this resolution shall be in full force and effect forthwith upon its adoption. Adopted today's date, 2024. That was a lot.
Yes. Yes.
We're saying that we agree with them adding it to the ballot.
Yeah. Yes. And this is going to happen whether we say yes or not.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And because they mismanage their funds.
But it doesn't mean that we know what the voters are going to.
I understand that.
Yeah. Right.
You still have to have your principles. I really dislike the fact that there's talk about exploring an informational marketing firm. You're only going to put information out there if you're trying to still persuade them one way or another. Like, you can't be 100% objective on that. And then we're using, if it's the schools that are paying for it, they're using taxpayer dollars to try to tell the taxpayers that they should tax them more. I just don't agree with that.
The superintendents are looking at that as it is very difficult for taxpayers to understand what school finance is, and they feel like it's important to make sure that they understand this could be used for renovations. One of the larger districts has quite a job in front of them with renovations that they need to do. It also is for mental health support. So that's something that we as a district have been able to, already have an SRO. We've already increased our social work presence. We've already increased our tri-county administrative presence. Other districts haven't had the same ability. This is also a way that you could abate taxes. So you could be levying for less in the future in some areas because of this. So you could actually relieve some of the taxpayer pressure within the district by counting on people who shop in McLean County. And let's face it, there's a lot of students that are going to places there that, would be taxed on, some of the weekend things that they might be doing there. So there is some benefit because some of our tax base might have some relief. But again, for us, we don't have an extremely large stake in this because we have only 63 kids in the district. So.
For me, the informational campaign, I'm assuming, would be similar to when DeWitt County put this on the ballot. It was not successful there. this has been several years ago. The informational campaign, it really explained more of how that worked and what exactly would have the 1% on it. There were things that then were put together and shared with all the districts. It was shared through our social media, sent out to parents to understand what you would really be voting on. Then they could see if they were purchasing certain things in Farmer City, since it was DeWitt County, what would have the extra 1% added to it, to understand that, because it's not just every single thing you buy. It doesn't work that way. So that's where I think the information, I'm assuming it would be similar to that. That's the only experience I have with it on what they included on it, because people truly didn't know. I know right now you wouldn't see that with Mahomet, but for Mahomet School District, like if you go to some of their newer buildings, they have been built with this 1%. Their hard part for them right now is they need an additional building, and all their 1% is spoken for right now. But if you go to their early childhood education building, I've personally been in that one, they paid for it with 1% because they got a larger portion since they have more students in Champaign County with that.
Our estimate would be about $81,000 per year if revenues in McLean County are anywhere close to what they have been. So helpful, but it's
I'm
not going to
assuming
build a
Unit
building.
5 will be a very large.
Yes.
Their 1% could fund.
Yeah. They're asking for this after just 2 years ago increasing taxes.
Why don't they raise property taxes again?
Say it again. In Unit 5?
Sure.
I can't speak for them, I'm sorry.
Well, that sounds like a great idea.
So we would be hiring somebody out for $2,500 to advertise this out on something that we actually don't have any choices in. If all of the voters in our corner of Bellflower were able to vote, it still wouldn't swing this.
Probably not. We're a very small part of what's going on. Are we going to make an impact? I don't know. Could the vote be within 200 votes, yes to no? Possibly. I really don't know. I don't know how to gauge that. But the cost that there were, for the campaign part, the informational campaign, the first tier would be a $5,000 cost. I got that cut in half to $2,500. Then there were some optional things that you could do if you wanted to dig in further. That would be up to another $5,000 if you wanted to do that. We wouldn't have interest in that. I feel like at some point it's good to be a united front in your county. So that's why I felt like it would be worth having that discussion, but I wanted to make sure that we got what I thought was a better deal than what was offered at first. But tonight's vote is simply for getting onto the ballot.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt the resolution directing the regional superintendent of schools to place the 1% retailer's occupation tax and a service occupation tax to be used for school facility, security, and mental health services proposition to the voters of the County of McLean for the consolidation election on April 1st, 2025.
Seconded.
Kenna. Chelsea.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, up next we have new business, Press 117, first reading.
All right, first reading month, we don't do any approval, but you can see the names of all the policies. You can see the notes that I've taken on the corners of those. I take no exception to those, and we will bring those back in January for your approval.
Any comments on that?
I think the notes need to be more entertaining.
Put that in the minute. More entertaining.
I will work on more entertaining with Press 118, which is coming this spring, I believe. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we were really kind of feisty, huh?
Yeah.
She's like, really,
Must be
have
the
one semester
baklava.
left. Yeah. All right, up next, we have Vision 2030.
Okay, Vision 2030. This is the set of goals basically for IASA, the Illinois Association of School Administrators, IPA, the Illinois Principals Association, IASB, the Illinois Association of School Boards, IASBO, the Illinois Association of School Business Officials, the Superintendent's Commission, and so on. There's a lot of groups that are coming together to try to figure out where do we need to go in the state of Illinois for the next, it's not 10 years anymore. Now we're down to about 5 years by the time we get this thing going. So basically, if you've had time to read through that, you'll see that the main priorities that they have, I'm looking at page 443 or page 4 from that document. A lot of work is going to be done around keeping students safe. And as we've heard earlier this week, it's still a very top goal for us. Keeping high quality educators in front of students. Also very important to make sure that we have the best instruction for every child that we have. Enhancing post-secondary success. I think Mrs. Trimble is kind of the poster child for this right now, leading us in that direction. So thank you for keeping us ahead of the game. And then also improving measurement of what is working. Some of the things that you're going to see when you read through this document, coming up with a state system for finance and student management that is going to be able, ISB will be able to pull data from us instead of us having to do so many reports in so many different ways. Paige and Kara are going to be working probably most of the day tomorrow on saying where every single dollar went for ESSER 3 over multiple years. It's a huge job, even when you have financial systems. So we're hoping that in the next, 5 years, it would be really nice to have so many things just extracted from your system instead of having to do everything by hand repeatedly. So, and they're also going to be looking at school report card. Right now, it's a forced system where some school districts are going to have to be in that lowest category. Should it be like that? A lot of educators think no. People should be able to rise above that if they're doing the things that they've been asked to do. So that's another piece that they're going to be looking at very closely. So a lot of good work there. I've done a heavy skim of it, but it might be something that you want to take a look at when you have some time in more depth. So that's Vision 2030. Next month, you would be asked if you wanted to sign a resolution saying that, yes, we're all in favor of this. I think really IASA just wants to make sure that everybody's read it and they agree with what they're working on. So, but no action for us tonight.
Any comments? If not, I need a motion and a second to move from open session to closed session for discussion of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district. Semi-annual review of closed session minutes at 7:52. Sig and Derek.
Yes. Jonathan Yeager. Yes. Jason Rowland. Yes. Dave Eager. Yes. Kenna Johnson. Yes. Tracy Miller.
Yes.